As I fly home, I got to thinking that I need to make a video about this because a lot of you people out there are not aware of who is behind AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I did some research into her chief of staff, and I think it's time to expose him, and I want you all to pass this video around. Copy it. I don't care what you do. It's going to be a lengthy video. This isn't one of those 10-second videos and you get the gist of it. I'm going to go in depth and show you who is behind AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. As I fly home, I'm going to sit and do this video, and I'm going to put this together, and I hope you take the time to watch it. Because I don't think a lot of you know who her chief of staff is and what he represents. Because a lot of this coming out of her mouth is really from him. And AOC is his puppet. And he's a communist, degenerate bastard. I'll tell you that right now. He used to work for Bernie Sanders on his campaign back in 2016. This guy, and I can't pronounce it, Saikat Chakrabarti or whatever his name is. This is the asshole that's behind AOC. That's her chief of staff. He used to sit on Bernie Sanders' campaign in 2016 and worked for Bernie Sanders, spearheading his campaign. I want you to be aware of that. Now, I want you to keep in mind that a lot of what you're hearing and seeing coming out of the news media on AOC is a diversionary tactic. I'm going to say it again. It's a diversionary tactic to manipulate you. That way they can sidestep you while they're putting out these false rhetorics and claims that they don't really believe in, these shock statements, and I do mean shock statements, to get the press to go along with it. They're working behind the scenes on some illegalities that has not been discovered and we don't know about yet. Think about that. This is how communists work. This is exactly the common communist tactic that they use to do this shit. They'll put out some shock statement like the migrant centers down there are concentration camps. Another shock statement that she put out to sidestep and create a diversion just recently in late June of 2019, early July of 2019 was migrants are being forced to drink out of toilets. And so that sends the news media into a frenzy and they print all this shit. It's what they're doing behind the scenes. This is a tactic that communist, Marxist, socialist terrorists often use as a diversion to sidestep the press, the media, and fool you, the American public, when they're doing something else that's even more illegal, more heinous, more corrupt than what you know about. And it has not been exposed yet. So this is their way of creating a diversion for them to get by with even more that they don't, hoping that you don't know about. Now this is kind of old news from March of 2019. It's not that old, but it's from March 4th of 2019. AOC's chief of staff ran 1 million slush fund by diverting campaign cash to his own companies. And see, this is what I'm talking about. They come out with all these shock statements that you people buy into to divert your attention away from what they're really doing. And this is how communist, terrorist, organized crime works. They put out these shock statements or they'll do something shocking to gain a lot of publicity, to shine the light away from them and get you to buy into it while they're really behind the scenes doing something else. So, according to the complaint filed with the Federal Election Commission, Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff, Saikat Chakrabarti, whatever his frickin' name is, oversaw the cash transfers from the PACs. He's of Indian descent, and I'm not talking Navajo and Cherokee. I'm talking about the country of India. 2 political action committees founded by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez funneled over $1 million in political donations in 2 of his own private companies, according to a complaint filed with the Federal Election Commission on Monday. The cash transfers from the PACs, overseen by Saikat Chakrabarti, the freshman Socialist, Democrats' chief of staff, run counter to her pledges to increase transparency and reduce the influence of dark money in politics. Chakrabarti's companies appear to have been set up for the sole purpose of obscuring how the political donations were used. The arrangement skirted reporting requirements. I'll read that again. The arrangement skirted. That means dodged if you can't follow along with some of the wordology. The arrangement dodged or skirted or hid reporting requirements and may have violated the $5,000 limit on contributions from federal PACs to candidates, according to the complaint filed by the National Legal and Policy Center, a government watchdog group. Campaign finance attorneys described the arrangement as really weird and an indication there's something amiss. They said there's no way of telling where the political donations went, meaning they could have been pocketed or used by the company to pay for off-the-books campaign operations. So, this is the kind of shit we have to wonder about. All these shock statements that supposedly AOC puts out, like she just dreamed it up on her own. It's kind of like that garbage disposal fiasco that we went through in March or April, where she didn't know what a garbage disposal was and how many people bought into that. And there's a reason that she did that, or he put her up to it, as a diversion while they commit crimes doing something else. These people, she's not that smart. We all know she's a dumbass. She's a complete idiot. You can tell by the way she acts, the way she talks. She is somebody's puppet. And they're telling her what to say and what to do. And I believe it's this Saikat Chakrabarti or whatever the frick his name is. He's the one that's dangerous. And he's got her as his puppet. And she's just stupid enough and naive enough and ignorant enough and gullible enough to go along with it. Because she is that frickin' stupid. And I've seen this before in women. They do this shit because, oh yeah. Matter of fact, I can think of about 3. One almost went to prison for life for being stupid, for going along with something that she shouldn't have went along with. This is how they do it. They create a diversion. And to create that diversion, they need somebody who can pull off the bullshit and get people to believe it. And AOC is just that person. She's just not intelligent, but she speaks good enough, and she's got this look to her that the naive dumbasses out here would buy into 90% of what she says. And it's all a diversion to divert the press, the media, and you into buying into whatever she says with those shock value statements, those shock comments that everybody likes to pick up on and tweet on and Facebook back what she said. They're playing you people for fools. And that's exactly what they're doing. Everything she says, you pick up on it and retweet. She said this, she said that. In the meantime, It's what they got going on behind the scenes that nobody has yet found out about or knows about, just like this diverting $1 million right here into his own slush fund. So, a lot of you people need to wake up and start calling her out. And if there's any good, really good investigative reporters out there that don't just sit behind the cubicle in their office and try to gather all their information from the internet, can actually get out and do footwork and follow her and him for several months. And you're not going to do it by sitting on your ass behind a cubicle. I'm talking about you professional investigative reporters. Because I'm telling you, these two are very, very dangerous. It says here, PACs are required to disclose how and when funds are spent, including for expenditures such as advertisements, fundraising emails, donations to candidates, and payments for events and to vendors. The private companies to which Chakrabarti transferred the money from the PACs are not subject to these requirements. The complaint, I'm down here, names Ocasio-Cortez and Chakrabarti as respondents. He asked the Federal Elections Commission to investigate and audit the two PACs, saying they were engaged in an elaborate scheme to avoid proper disclosure of campaign expenditures. Tom Anderson, director of National Legal and Policy Center Government's Integrity Project, said, "It appears Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her associates ran an off-the-books operation to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, thus violating the foundation of all campaign finance laws, transparency." Remember, she ain't that frickin' smart. We all know that. There's somebody behind the scenes who's using her as a puppet. This Chakrabarti, who's 33 years old and a supposed Harvard graduate, entrepreneur who became an organizer for Bernie Sanders during the Socialist 2016 presidential campaign. Now let's stop right there. This is where I'm at right here. I want you to read along with me, then we're going to backtrack for a minute. Who became an organizer for Bernie Sanders during the Socialist 2016 presidential campaign. Now what happened after his campaign and he lost? How many of you out there remember that? How much money he got to keep? And his wife was later indicted, and I think if I remember right, I'd have to go research it, arrested for bank fraud. Who remembers all that? After he lost the election in 2016, was not a runner-up, didn't make it, all that money that all his communist, socialist, Marxist supporters sent into him disappeared. And this is a guy that owns 3 large homes, has never worked a day in his life other than in government at the taxpayer's expense, and his wife committed bank fraud and was arrested for it. Who remembers that? And that's this Chakrabarti, who's now the AOC's chief of staff, used to work for Bernie Sanders. This Chakrabarti evidently was able to funnel a lot of money under the table to Bernie Sanders back during when he was running for 2016, thinking he was smart enough to keep that money hidden. Well, he wasn't. Came back to bite Bernie Sanders in the ass, as well as his wife. They thought they could pull some fast ones. There's always somebody behind the scenes, and it's not the person like Bernie Sanders or AOC, because neither one of them are smart enough. Think about that. Remember, this Chakrabarti, who's 33 years old, who's now AOC's chief of staff for her campaign, used to be Bernie Sanders during the 2016 presidential campaign. This Chakrabarti, a Harvard graduate, who became an organizer for Bernie Sanders' Socialist 2016 presidential campaign. So you see how they tie in together? They're frauds. They're telling you people anything and wanting you to donate money to them. Lots of money, and then they take the money. They know they're going to lose. They know they're going to lose. And then they take that money that you donate to them, and it goes in their pockets. Just like a typical communist, Marxist, socialist. Terrorist. They know they don't stand a chance in hell, but they don't want to come out and admit it to you people, because then you won't donate any money to them. They want you to buy into their bullshit, their lies, their rhetoric, and spin. Send us money. Oh yeah, we run on this platform. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Ain't never going to work. Ain't never going to happen. All they care about is fooling you young people and you other naive, gullible souls to send them money. A lot of money. That's how they keep from having to work in life. A real job. Bernie Sanders ain't held a real job in his entire life. And all AOC did was supposedly bartend. Yeah. It says this Chakrabarti, whatever his name is, he founded a PAC called Brand New Congress in 2016 and another called Justice Democrats in 2017. Now, these are all fronts. I've already researched them in depth for weeks with the stated goal of helping elect progressive candidates to Congress. One of those candidates was Ocasio-Cortez, who last November, at age 29, you wouldn't know she's 29 when she acts like she's 15, became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. Well, she wasn't just elected. She went out and lied to everybody in her district to get them to vote for her. All through lies and bullshit. Wonder what they think of her now. According to the Brand New Congress website, the PAC would build a unified campaign infrastructure, including fundraising, organizing, rallies, and advertising progressive congressional candidates across the country could plug into, saving the individual campaign's time and money. Our idea is really to run a single unified presidential style campaign that is going to look a lot like the Bernie Sanders campaign, said this Chakrabarti in an interview with MSNBC's Guess Who, Rachel Maddow, in May 2016. The campaign infrastructure and fundraising is set aside from the campaigning. In 2016 and 2017, Chakrabarti's PACs raised about $3.3 million for the project, primarily from small donors, meaning you people that buy into their bullshit. During this time, the committees transferred over $1 million. Here's where I'm at now. The committees transferred over $1 million to two shell companies controlled by Chakrabarti with similar names, similar to the ones of the PAC's Brand New campaign. Huh? See where they're going with this? Let's steal some money. These people out here are so stupid, naive, and gullible, they'll believe everything we tell them. The committees transferred over $1 million to two shell companies controlled by Chakrabarti, with names similar to one of the PACs, Brand New Campaign, LLC, and Brand New Congress, LLC, according to federal election filings. Here's where it gets good. So follow along, stay tuned, sit back, relax, smoke a cigarette, get a drink, whatever you need to do. A few weeks after starting the brand new Congress PAC, Chakrabarti formed one of the companies, Brand New Campaign LLC in Delaware, using a registered agent service and mailbox only address. Over the next 7 months, as a small dollar political donations poured into the PAC from progressives, and let's be perfectly blunt, progressives is code word for communism, Marxism, socialism, terrorist. I'm not making that up. I'm not just trying to be facetious here and mean. Progressives is code word for communism. If you don't believe it, that's your problem. Go research it, dig deep into it, you'll find out. Progressives is code word for communism. I'll reread the whole paragraph. Over the next 7 months, as small dollar political donations poured into the PAC from progressives across the country, the committee transferred over $200,000, 82% of the contributions, to the company Brand New Campaign LLC. Right there. The payments were for strategic consulting, according to the federal election filings. They were sent to an apartment address listed for Chakrabarti in Greenwich Village area of Manhattan. So $200,000 of that money, Chakrabarti sent it to an apartment address listed for Chakrabarti in the Greenwich Village area of Manhattan. Huh. See where your money goes with these communist, Marxist, socialists? In 2017, I'm right here right now, follow along with me. In 2017, brand new Congress, PAC transferred another $240,000 to Brand New Congress LLC, also for strategic consulting. Another PAC, co-founded by Chakrabarti that year, Justice Democrats, transferred an additional $605,000 to Brand New Congress LLC in 2017. This is not his own money. These are contributions sent in by you naive, clueless souls who buy into these AOC, Bernie Sanders, and the rest of these socialist, communist, Marxist, terrorist Democrats. This is where your money's actually going. They aren't going to come out and admit it or tell you that. Brand New Congress LLC does not appear to be registered in any state, according to state government records available online. It is unclear where or when it was incorporated. Adav Nati, the senior director of the Campaign Legal Center and a former FEC, which is Federal Elections Commission lawyer, said the arrangement was highly unusual and seemed intended to obscure the destination of the funds. Read that again. Adav Nati, the senior director of the Campaign Legal Center and former FEC lawyer, FEC stands for Federal Elections Commission lawyer, said the arrangement was highly unusual and seemed intended to obscure the destination of the funds. They love, communists, Marxist, socialists love to steal your money to those that are naive and gullible enough to believe their spin and rhetoric. None of that makes any sense. I can't even begin to disentangle that. They're either confused or they're trying to conceal something. Nadi said it would be simpler to set up a consulting company and work directly with campaigns to provide services for a fee rather than creating a federal PAC and sending the money to a company controlled by the same person. It does seem like there's something amiss. I can only think of really two possibilities for this sort of pattern of disbursements. One is the scam PAC possibility. They're really just paying themselves and they're concealing it by using the LLC. Now this is where I'm at. I want you to follow along. One is the scam PAC possibility. They're really just paying themselves and they're concealing it by using the LLC. And I've seen that before through FBI investigations on the FBI website. That's how they steal your money. The other is that there's actually another recipient that the money is going to the LLC and then being dispersed in some other way that they want to conceal it. Which is kind of how narco drug dealers work. The other is that there's actually another recipient of that money that the money is going to, the LLC, and then being dispersed in some other way that they want to conceal. This is that little chief of staff of hers. That Charbaki, whatever his name is. Very dangerous son of a bitch. Bradley A. Smith, a former chairman of the FEC, Federal Elections Commission, said he has never seen such an arrangement. It's really a weird situation, he said. I see almost no way that you could do that without being at least reporting a violation. Quite like violation of the contribution limits. You might say from a campaign finance angle that the LLC was essentially operating as an unregistered committee. Chakrabarti, her chief of staff, AOC's chief of staff now, declined to comment on the FEC complaint or provide details about his company's financial activities. Corbin Trent, a spokesman for AOC Cortez, declined to comment. Now I'm going to stop here for a minute, people. Take a breather for a minute, because I want you to think about this. What I said earlier about creating a diversion. In the news media, you reporters and news anchors out there who might want to watch and see this video if you're seeing it in its entirety, I want you to pay close attention. This is how they create a diversion with all these shock statements, shock comments, maybe even shock photos on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, is to divert your attention into that so that they can get by with this. They want to divert your attention onto those shock statements and shock comments so you won't dig into what they're doing here. Because if they can create a diversion on the right, they can do whatever they want to on the left. In other words, they're fooling you. They're pulling the wool right over your eyes, and you're stupid enough to buy into it. That's why there needs to be somebody on these two 24/7 for the next 2 years or longer. At 24/7. Every move they make. Every move they make. It says here, they all got these weird names. You see how they're trying to take over America? And you people are stupid enough to buy into it. Zainab Day, communications director for the brand new Congress PAC, said Chakrabarti was not currently affiliated with the group and that it recently went through a transition period. Boy, they love to lie, don't they? She referred questions about the LLC to Chakrabarti. I'm unable to answer any questions about the LLC. I am not informed about them. We are not an affiliated group. Jesus. A spokesman for the Justice Democrats said he did not know why the PAC paid so much money to Chakrabarti's LLCs. When asked what the Justice Democrats PAC does on a daily basis, he said, "It's very clear what we do, but declined to elaborate." Ha ha! God damn. Here's where I'm at. A spokesman for the Justice Democrats, and it has nothing to do with the government, they're just a bunch of communist, Marxist, socialist terrorists, said he did not know why the PAC paid so much money to Chakrabarti's LLCs. When asked what the Justice Democrats PAC does on a daily basis, he said, "It's very clear what we do, but declined to elaborate." Yeah, as usual. Says Chakrabarti founded Brand New Congress PAC in April 2016. According to a statement released by Justice Democrats PAC last May, Chakrabarti was the only controlling member of the company Brand New Congress LLC and took no salary. The statement added, Saikat is lucky to have a small side business that generates him enough income that he is able to do all this work as a volunteer. This is what gets me. Is lucky enough to have a small side business that generates him enough income that he is able to do all of this work as a volunteer. Bullshit. I'd like to know what his small side business was, because it's a front, a phony. The only thing people like this are good for, they're not good at running a legitimate business. The only thing they're good for is fraud and corruption. Even if it seems like they run a legitimate business or owned a legitimate business, 9 chances out of 10 it's a fraud. This is how criminals operate. We've seen it with the mob, the mafia, the syndicate, whatever you want to call them. This kid right here, he's AOC's puppet. AOC is the kid on the left's puppet. That is Chakrabarti. He is able to manipulate AOC mentally and emotionally. And she's just dumb enough to buy into it. And he probably sits around most of the time dreaming up these things, these shock statements and shock comments, and goes over them with AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and tells her what to say and how to say it, to create a diversion for the media, the press, the FBI, the Justice Department, to get people to buy into it so he can continue creating more of his fraud and corruption and crimes. And AOC is going along with it, not only because she's stupid, naive, and gullible, because I can damn sure bet you, somewhere under the table, she's getting a piece of the pie. And she's just dumb enough and gullible and naive enough. But when all hell breaks loose and shit goes down, she's going to be in a set of handcuffs right along with him. They think because they got themselves into a political arena and she's a congressman that they're invincible. They think they can't be touched. Let's get on with it. I got more. I further learned now, this article popped up, sheds even more light on her chief of staff. This Saikat Chakrabarti, whatever his name is. Ocasio-Cortez, chief of staff, has sick crush on Hitler today. This is dated February 10th, 2019. Socialist darling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, chief of staff, is not your average socialist Democrat. Harvard-educated Saikat Chakrabarti is a huge fan of Indian political leader Subhas Chandra Bose, who was an ally of Adolf Hitler and Imperial Japan. Chakrabarti is frequently pictured in Subhas Chandra Bose t-shirts. Bose, whatever his name is. As seen here. That is a picture of this leader at one time on a t-shirt. And this is AOC's chief of staff. This Chakrabarti. This, who's from India, the country of India. He's a radical, militant, communist, Marxist, socialist terrorist is what he is. Make no mistake about it. He's right up there with Boko Haram. This is who I'm talking about right here. This guy. Saikat Chakrabarti is a highly motivated, smart guy. A Harvard grad. He founded a web tools company, Mockingbird. He is a founder of Justice Democrats. The PAC set up with the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, was instrumental in getting AOC elected and is presently going through congressional training to learn how to become an effective chief of staff for the Dems' Golden Girl. So if you're not familiar with who the Young Turks are, TYT, they have several YouTube channels, Facebook and Twitter, and they support communism and socialism and Marxism. They didn't come right out and say it when they first started up. This is how communist, Marxist, socialist, terrorist work. And this Cenk Uygur, whatever his name is, all you foreign names, pieces of shit, he's the one that got into it with Alex Jones of InfoWars. Yeah. Had a little tussle. I loved it. Yep. Old Cenk. Got his ass whooped. Didn't you, Cenk? Yeah, it ain't over with yet. Based on a recent clothing choice, Chakrabarti might justifiably be considered a Nazi sympathizer. And yes, in his latest Love Fest video for AOC, Chakrabarti is sporting a t-shirt that features a portrait of Subhas Chandra Bose. Not familiar with this former Indian head of state? Here's a few facts. Bose was an ally of Adolf Hitler and met with him personally in 1942. Bose founded the Free India Legion, made up of troops captured by Nazi Field Marshal Rommel's Afrika Korps. The Phil swore an oath to Hitler and was under SS command. Bose teamed up with the Japanese in 1943. Bose was an admirer of the USSR and sought to implement its authoritarian practices in India. Well, back then, the USSR was communism. And that should have been brought out in that little sentence right there. And the guy on the far right is Saikat Chakrabarti, whatever his name is. I don't know who these two pieces of shit are on the left, and it don't matter because I don't give a shit. They're communist, Marxist, socialist, terrorist is what they are. They're pieces of shit. They're degenerates. They shouldn't even be in this country. And if I had anything to say about it, they would not be in this country. They don't like it here. They need to go to the USSR or Cuba or Venezuela or wherever they feel more comfortable. But it ain't here in this country. But get a good look at them if you ever see them anywhere, out in public. You know what to do. You choose how you do it. I'll leave it at that. This article goes on to say, this guy isn't just any guy on her staff. It's her chief of staff, Saikat Chakrabarti. And Saikat Chakrabarti idolizes this Nazi-loving fascist so much that he wears this shirt for everything. Not joking. He's selling professionally shot images of himself and his team on stock image accounts for $199 per license. For a socialist, he sure does act like a capitalist. See how they all lie and spin their bullshit? Right here. For a socialist, he sure does act like a capitalist. Who is Saikat Chakrabarti? However you pronounce his stupid Indian name. Alright, let's start from the beginning. Chakrabarti is a native Fort Worth, Texas, and graduate from Harvard with a degree in computer science. Yeah. After graduation, he spent 8 years in Silicon Valley working for various companies. He co-founded some wireframe company called Mockingbird, blah, blah, blah. Once again, for a fascist-loving socialist, he sure does act like a capitalist. Between Mockingbird and Stripe, Chakrabarti is a self-made millionaire. According to an interview in India Abroad, he became disillusioned with society after graduating from Harvard and earning millions. It was then he decided to leave the tech sector and go to work for the Bernie Sanders campaign. I just made so much money I'm disillusioned. But you don't seem giving any of it away either, do you? You have to create the society you want to create, and that is done through politics. Well, I want to read that again. You have to create the society you want to live, you want to create, and that is done through politics. Well, the rest of us don't want your fucking society that you want to live in, say, Chakrabarti. We're not interested in your socialist, communist, Marxist bullshit. Your snake oil salesman tactics. I can tell you that right now. Evidently, this society he wants to create involves, it's true, just like Venezuela. Evidently, this society he wants to create involves breadlines and political oppression. Per Chakrabarti, Sanders didn't have all the right answers, but he was talking about the right problems. During his time with Sanders' campaign, this Chakrabarti, he learned how to harness the power of volunteers, among many other things. Yeah, screw the volunteers out of money and lie to them. Yeah, that's what Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing. It's also here that he met his future business partner and activists, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Corbin Trent. So let's go back up here and see if we can find them. And it don't show them. Nope, don't show them. So, It was here that he met his future business partner, activist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Corbin Trent. After Bernie's loss to Hillary in the primaries, the team went on to form PACs, Justice Democrats and Brand New Congress, which I've looked both them up, and we're going to expose them here in a minute in the video. While Chakrabarti appears to be an ambitious and creative progressive activist, here we go again, using those words to hide behind their true intent when it's communist activist, radical communist terrorist activist. And they hide behind words like progressive. Don't let them fool you, don't let them lie to you, and don't let them try to spin the bullshit. They hide behind words like progressive when they're really communist. But they don't want to come out and admit that, because if they do, you're not going to go along with their phony agenda. So they throw out words like progressive. On the surface, in reality, he's positioning himself to influence politics for years to come. The reality. By helping AOC land her seat in the House of Representatives, Chakrabarti landed himself on the political power playlist in 2019. I mean, it's just, when you shoot for big stuff, you stay true to the movement. You fight unapologetically on the side that is very, very powerful way to pass the radical solutions that are necessary to face the radical problems that you have. Radical solutions that are necessary to face the radical problems that you have. We don't have any radical problems here till you people showed up. You communist, Marxist, socialist terrorists. That's right. And as he points out, the author of this article, keyword, radical. First, he set up Brand New Congress to issue a sort of casting call to communities all over America with the intent of finding and then backing as many radical progressives as he could enlist. This was how he found gaffe-prone Ocasio-Cortez. And here's how it works. You set up these phony companies. Shell companies is what they are. Kind of like narco drug dealers. Brand New Congress. Issue casting call for progressive candidates. Find as many as possible. Create another one called Justice Democrats. Pass them off to Justice Democrats for campaign support. Pack the government. Right here. This is very important. If it's ever let me highlight it, I guess it won't. Pack the government with as many radicals as possible. You see that right here in the red in the middle? Pack the government with as many radicals as possible. Challenge any moderate Democrat incumbents. Repeat every election. See how that works? This is how communists work. Communist terrorists. Chakrabarti founded and controls two major PACs with one simple goal. Pack the government with radicals like AOC. And those other two scumbag bitches up there in Michigan. Based on this alone, it's clear that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez isn't the brains behind her operation. And that's what I want to show you. Because I was right all along the moment I seen her. Based on this observation alone, it is clear that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, otherwise known in simpler terms as AOC, isn't the brains behind her operation. See what I'm telling you? She's a puppet for that guy, that Saikat Chakrabarti, whatever his name is. Here's why he's dangerous. Initially, when I started researching Chakrabarti, I asked myself, why doesn't he run for Congress himself? If we look at his goals, strategy, and action plan, it becomes very clear. Number one, right here, if I can get it to highlight, running on his own ticket would divert his attention away from mass-producing candidates to challenge moderate Democrat incumbents. Number two, if he loses his election, he loses power. Number three, AOC and other candidates make up for his shortcomings in relatability, social media presence, and personality. Number four, if a candidate loses their election, he can move on to another one. Number five, by helping and funding candidates win a seat in Congress, he has a clear path to Congress as well. That's very important. What's being said here in this one sentence. I want you all to pay close attention to it. Number five, by helping and funding other candidates, communist, socialist, Marxist, terrorist candidates, win a seat in Congress, he has a clear path to Congress as well. Even if AOC loses her next election, his process is repeatable every election cycle, which is another important sentence I want to bring out. Even if AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, loses her next election, and she will, his process is repeatable every election cycle. In other words, there'll be a new AOC under a new name that'll be dumber than she is, and she's going to be his puppet. And so it just keeps repeating itself. By structuring his PACs in the way that he's done, he's essentially setting himself up to have a very long, very powerful career working behind the curtain to influence politics in Washington, D.C. Yes and no to that sentence. By structuring his PACs in the way he's done, he's essentially setting himself up to have a very long, very powerful career working behind the curtain to influence policies in Washington, D.C. Well, that is until he's walking down a sidewalk one night, or somebody pops him, or he's on a plane that's been sabotaged so the plane goes down and kills him, or he's in a car with somebody and the brakes mysteriously fail, and a big semi runs over him and makes a pancake out of him on purpose. That's just a few of the ways you can take out one of these communist, Marxist, socialist, terrorist scumbags. And I like this because this is the way these terrorists think. Think about it. Within the span of 4 years, Chakrabarti has propelled himself from campaign organizer to chief of staff. All he had to do was find someone to be the face of his grand plan. All he had to do was find someone to be the face of his grand plan. Let's be honest. If you peel back the slimy layers of the swamp, the power players aren't the ones messing with their dentures nonstop. The real power players are the ones behind the scenes, advising on policy decisions, buying votes, and playing a card game by their own set of rules. Granted, Miss Ocasio-Cortez is still dangerous. People are listening to and supporting the message she is parroting, but she is merely a vessel. Very important sentence here. People are listening to and supporting the message she is parroting from her chief of staff, Saikat Chakrabarti. But she is merely a vessel, a puppet. Don't let them fool you. If they want you to look here, it's because something else is going on over there. And that's the whole point of this video. I want all of you to pay attention to this, because this is what I'm trying to say. All these shock comments, all these shock statements from AOC, all these shock photos and videos, it is to divert the attention of the media and the press and you naive, clueless souls into buying into what she's trying to promote and sell, and that is not at all what she's trying to promote and sell. Not at all. Don't let them fool you, America, right here. If they want you to look here, it's because something else is going on over there. And that is exactly how gypsy snake oil salesmen work. And if you don't know what a gypsy snake oil salesman is, I'll have to try to include that, put that in here. I'll show you a picture. A gypsy snake oil salesman is somebody who shows up in your town or city and claims to be a medicine doctor and has a big fancy bottle with a big fancy label and is trying to sell it to you as medicine. And it's nothing more than horse piss in a bottle with a fancy label in a fancy bottle. But he's going to tell you, you got to have it. This will cure all your ailments. Buy this snake oil salesman. Buy this snake oil. This is what gypsies do. They're bullshit artists. They're con artists. They're con men. It could be women or men. I've seen both. Once had it happen in my neighborhood when I was growing up as a kid. I'll break here for a minute. So these gypsy snake oil salesmen come waltzing into town trying to sell you this medicine in a bottle. It'll cure all your ailments, all of them. And the town people gather around and listen to his spell and his speech, kind of like AOC and Obama and all the rest of these socialist, communist, Marxist bullshit artists. And he's after one thing. He's after your money. Now, this bottle costs $99, but it will cure all your ailments. So he says. It's on a nice looking bottle. It's got a fancy label. The gypsy snake oil salesman seems legitimate. Then after you buy this $99 supposed medicine, you take it home and you take some of it. Tastes kind of funny, but nothing ever really happens. You're not getting any better. So you take it to another physician, and it happens to be your animal doctor, your veterinarian. He tests it and says, well, this ain't nothing but horse piss. You bought a bottle of horse piss. This ain't medicine. Hell, this is horse piss in a fancy bottle with a fancy label. And you paid $99 for it? And that's exactly what these democratic, socialist, communist, Marxist, terrorists are selling you people. Just to get your money. And you're that gullible and naive. They want your money. All of it. As much as they can get out of it. They're going to raise taxes. They want you to send in donations to their political PACs, campaigns. Meanwhile, here's a bottle of snake oil. Cure all your ailments. And send us your money. So the more you people buy into this shit that these democratic, socialist, Marxist, communist, terrorists keep feeding you, because that's what it is. It's a fraud, it's corruption, and it's wrong. But many of you out there are a used car salesman's dream. AOC's chief of staff deletes tweet attacking Blue Dog Caucus as new Southern Democrats. This article from late June of 2019. Very important that you read this, because this is where a lot of this bullshit's coming from. The chief of staff, and we all know who he is now because that's what this video is dedicated to, of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democratic, Communist, Socialist, Marxist out of New York, deleted a tweet accusing moderate House Democrats of being the new Southern Democrats following a House vote that approved funding for the border on Thursday. See, he's trying to get shit started. After initially resisting the bipartisan bill that passed in the Senate, Speaker Nancy Pelosi caved to the pressure of moderates in her caucus and passed the spending bill, causing backlash among progressives, communist, Marxist, socialist terrorists, like AOC and the rest of her pathetic, disgusting regime. Ocasio-Cortez chief of staff, Saikat Chakrabarti, lashed out on Twitter and took aim at the New Democrats and the Blue Dog Caucus. See, it says right here. That's who her chief of staff is. And that's the little communist, no good son of a bitch that's starting all this shit and educating and trying to have an AOC say all these shock comments and shock tweets. This is a little son of a bitch and communist bastard. This Saikat Chakrabarti that we need to be going after, as well as AOC and Bernie Sanders. But this little Saikat Chakrabarti, he's the little bastard. The little communist cockroach termite bastard that needs to be gone after. And so this little communist cockroach son of a bitch decides this is what he tweeted. Instead of fiscally conservative, but socially liberal, let's call the New Democrats and Blue Dog Caucus the new Southern Democrats. They certainly seem hell-bent to do to black and brown people today what the old Southern Democrats did in the 1940s. So now he's going to try to stir up the race shit again. See, this is how the communist, Marxist terrorists work. Got to stir shit up. Keep it constantly stirred up. Division, see? That's what these communist, socialist, Marxist terrorists do. Until they're exposed for their bullshit and snake oil salesman tactics. Like this Saikat Chakrabarti. However you pronounce his fucking name. Need to research this guy, and if you see the son of a bitch anywhere, you know what to do. After deleting the tweet, Chakrabarti explained that he was mad, but doubled down on the message, saying, if we don't have progress on racial justice, it will be because of the new Dems and Blue Dogs, just like in 1940. Now here he's promoting, if we don't have progress on racial justice. See, now he's trying to pull the race card. More division, hatred. When the Democrats, the socialists, the communists, and the Marxists are the racists. But they're not going to come out and admit it. I don't think people have to be personally racist to enable a racist system. Chakrabarti told another Twitter user. And the same could even be said of the Southern Democrats. I don't think people have to be personally racist to enable a racist system. Chakrabarti told another Twitter user. Really? Well, boy, you Democrats and people like AOC and Bernie Sanders and Chakrabarti here, who's her chief of staff, sure seem to be awful racist to me, along with everybody else is noticing it too. Because that seems to be all you want to talk about, you Democrats, is race, hate, division, every damn one of you. Including the other idiots that are running for president up there, all 25 or 24 of them, making a complete ass out of themselves. An ass out of yourselves. Speaking all kinds of foreign language, Spanish or whatever the hell it was. You're a bunch of dipshits, you know that? You fucking Democrats are stupid as fuck. I wouldn't vote for none of you, not even for city council, mayor, governor, or county commissioner. Be a cold day in hell. He continued his attacks against the Blue Dog Caucus for wasting, he calls it wasting, $4.5 billion that puts kids in concentration camps. This is that Sarkozy, that Chakrabarti. He continued his attacks against Blue Dog Caucus for wasting $4.5 billion. So anything that's not approved by him is a waste. It's not approved. He didn't approve it. See, he's trying to align himself as everything has to be approved by him, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a socialist. He thinks he's hot shit. And if he goes around spreading this bullshit, then he thinks everything that any Democrat has to do has to be approved first by him. See, he's trying to align himself as being super powerful. In other words, you can't wipe your ass without calling him or getting it approved by him first. And that's what it boils down to. That's communism. Marxism. That's just like Hitler. This guy likes that other guy on that shirt so much. He wants to be so much like Hitler that now he's starting to talk like Hitler. And yet they want to call Trump Hitler. See, that's how they confuse the people. They are the Hitlers. The Democrats, the Socialists, the Communists, and the Marxists are the Hitlers. They're the ones who like to spin shit and try to twist it and confuse it to confuse the young people. When it's the Democrats that are the Hitlers. You see it by what they're doing on Twitter and Facebook by banning people, certain groups. That's what Nazism and communism and socialism and Marxism does. That's terrorist shit there. That's communism. Kind of like polecat during the Vietnam era. For those of you who don't know who polecat was. I'm telling you right now, these Democrats and people like this Chakrabarti, AOC's chief of staff, now that he's been exposed, he is dangerous. He wants to be so much like Hitler, it's scary.
The Federal Election Commission against the freshman Democrat and her chief of staff. The allegations being lodged by the conservative National Legal and Policy Center claim the Congresswoman and her top staffer improperly funneled nearly $900,000 in campaign contributions from political action committees to private companies. Peter Ducey is live on Capitol Hill with the latest. It sounds ominous, Peter.
Kennedy, the reason for the red flags here is because when all that money moved around between accounts that were controlled by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff, it was all just labeled for strategic consulting. And the chief himself explained all this on national TV 3 years ago.
Our idea really is to run this single unified presidential style campaign that's going to look a lot like the Bernie Sanders campaign and use that model of, a single website for fundraising, a single, like a giant national movement of volunteers contacting millions of voters.
But that might have been too broad because the law says specific payments need to be labeled specifically. So what comes next could be a big test for the freshman congresswoman, who is very enthusiastic about other people's financial records, telling the New Yorker recently, "I can see Trump being enormously upset that a 29-year-old Latina who is the daughter of a domestic worker is helping to build the case to get his financial records." I think that adds insult to injury to him. The Federal Elections Commission complaint was lodged by the Virginia-based National Legal and Policy Center, where an official explains these are not minor or technical violations. We are talking about real money here. In all my years of studying FEC reports, I've never seen a more ambitious operation to circumvent reporting requirements. Representative Ocasio-Cortez has been quite vocal in condemning so-called dark money, but her own campaign went to great lengths to avoid the sunlight of disclosure. And you might have noticed in that soundbite that played during the introduction, the Congresswoman was coming back at the airport, which was surprising to us because air travel is one of the things that gets phased out over time in the Green New Deal that she supports. Our crew asked her why she flew and didn't take the Amtrak train from New York down to Washington, D.C. She said because it saved a couple hours of her constituents' time. Kennedy?
We all know that's not true, Peter. It's much faster taking Via Sella. Peter Ducey, thank you very much for that.
Clarify for the audience in case they didn't get what was happening here. So this is her chief of staff, who himself is a financial whiz and a multimillionaire. He created a PAC and had people donate money into it. And then that was his PAC. And then he shifted the money into an LLC that he also controlled. And Fox has, gone back and backed up these facts and looked for where these places were incorporated, et cetera. The reason why that looks suspicious is because the same rules don't govern an LLC for disclosure
the way they do
as a PAC.
Yes.
Right. So then when it goes into the LLC, it becomes much less transparent. So where did this money come from? What was it used for? Did they go over the limit for what was allowed with the campaign? And who got the money?
How is that not money laundering, though?
Well,
the
we don't know.
The tax look that an LLC gets is very different than a PAC.
Right, over $200. You have to declare expenditures over $200, which is his way over. This is $885,000. It was the Congress PAC and Justice Democrat PAC that went into something called a brand new Congress LLC. Mm-hmm. And the question that you might bring up is, okay, I gave $10, I gave $15, I gave it to see that she's elected and supported. I didn't give it to put it into an LLC. So how do people feel who donated to the campaign that it ends up in something that we don't know where it's heading?
Well, why would you
We just publicly want to know why that is, because some people gave their money under the understanding that it was going for one thing, strategic whatever, and then it may have, and that's why you look into it. It may have migrated or been forcefully put into another place, and you just want to ask the question for the very reason that you gave. Right.